The axiom spire did not loom, it judged by existing. A lattice of black metal geometry wrapped around a blue dwarf star, its surfaces etched with symbols older than most civilizations present inside it. Light bent strangely near its edges, refracted through gravitational harmonics designed to remind every visitor of one truth: this place was not built for comfort, only authority. Ambassador Elena Ward walked alone across the chamber's central causeway. No escort. No honor guard. That omission was deliberate. Around her, the Galactic Council assembled in rising concentric tiers, 37 species, each seated according to influence, mass contribution, and historical dominance. Massive forms coiled beside vaporous intelligences contained in light fields. Chitin scraped stone. Energy mantles pulsed softly. Some delegates stared openly. Others did not bother. Humanity had been categorized long ago. Quiet. Cooperative. Forgettable. Elena stopped at the center glyph, precisely where gravity normalized a baseline galactic standard. She clasped her hands behind her back and waited. The waiting was also deliberate. High Arbiter XYR Cal of Threx unfolded himself from the upper dais. His segmented limbs clicked as he leaned forward, compound eyes narrowing with ceremonial gravity. This session of judgment is now in record, XYR Cal announced. Case designation, Sol 3. Defendant species, Homo sapiens. A faint ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Elena Ward, XYR Cal continued, designated representative. You stand accused of treaty violation, concealment of prohibited infrastructure, and systemic deception of the Galactic Compact. Elena inclined her head a fraction. Understood. Her voice carried easily. The chamber's acoustics were flawless. Do you contest these charges? No, she said. That drew attention. Several delegates shifted. A Falrixian observer paused its transcription. Even XYR Cal's mandibles stilled for half a second. You do not contest? He asked. I contest the interpretation, Elena replied. Not the data. XYR Cal straightened. Clarification is noted. Proceeding to evidentiary presentation. The chamber darkened. A three-dimensional projection bloomed above the central void, Earth's solar system, rendered in precise stellar resolution. Over the past 4 cycles, XYR Cal said, Council observers detected anomalous mass shadows within Sol 3's orbital plane. Structures unregistered. Power flows unreported. The projection zoomed. Faint outlines appeared, gravitational distortions, neatly layered, almost elegant. A disarmed species, XYR Cal continued, does not generate this. Murmurs spread. Elena watched the projection without expression. A delegate from the Kelt Combine raised a limb. Are these weapons platforms? Our analysts conclude they are capable of force projection, XYR Cal answered. At minimum. Elena finally spoke. Force projection is not synonymous with armament. XYR Cal angled his head. A semantic defense? A technical one, she said calmly. The projection shifted again, data streams, energy curves, orbital schematics. Additionally, XYR Cal said, Earth has exceeded permitted computational density, constructed non-declared deep space arrays, and embedded adaptive systems into civilian infrastructure. Elena nodded once. Accurate. A low hiss passed through the upper tiers. You admit this freely? XYR Cal asked. Yes. Then explain why, he demanded. Before this council determines intent. Elena exhaled slowly. She lifted her gaze, meeting the arbiter's eyes directly. Because the treaties you reference prohibit standing militaries, she said. They do not prohibit continuity systems. Silence followed. XYR Cal clicked sharply. Define your term. Continuity, Elena said, is the capacity of a civilization to persist under unknown conditions. That is philosophy, XYR Cal snapped. No, she replied. It is engineering. A faint vibration tremored through the chamber as observers adjusted environmental fields. The council did not enjoy ambiguity. You were classified as low risk, HFY said. Your history showed fragmentation, inefficiency, internal conflict. Why build systems of this scale? Elena did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was softer. Because our history showed extinction events, she said. Repeatedly. The projection changed again, Earth's geological record, punctuated by impact markers, ice ages, mass die-offs. We learned early, Elena continued, that survival does not announce itself. It prepares quietly. A delegate from the Ruin Collective emitted a pulse of light. You were not authorized to prepare at this level. Elena turned slightly toward the speaker. Authorization was never requested. HFY's mandibles flared. Careful, Ambassador. She inclined her head again. Always. The arbiter gestured sharply. The projection shifted one final time, Council fleet formations, already aligned along sole access corridors. In light of these admissions, HFY declared, the Council will proceed to sentencing deliberation. Preliminary measures include enforced disarmament, infrastructural seizure, and external governance oversight of Sol 3. That earned scattered approval. Stability preserved. Example made. Elena listened without reaction. Do you wish to make a final statement before deliberation? HFY asked. She considered him for a moment. Yes. The chamber leaned in, figuratively and otherwise. You believe this hearing is about what humanity built, Elena said. It is not. It is about when. HFY narrowed his eyes. When? When you noticed, she replied. A pause. You mistake restraint for ignorance, HFY said coldly. This council has monitored your species for decades. I know, Elena said. That was factored in. That drew a ripple of unease. Deliberation will commence, HFY announced sharply. Human representative will remain in holding. As the chamber lights brightened and delegates began sealed channel exchanges, Elena felt the subtle shift, nothing dramatic, nothing visible. Just a change in the air. In her inner ear, a private channel opened. Earth Continuity Network, status update. Threshold crossed. Phase 1 complete. Elena closed her eyes for half a second. Beyond the spire, far from the Council's instruments, a dormant system acknowledged the same truth. Earth had finished waiting. The Council believed the hearing concerned humanity's past. Earth had already moved on. The first warning did not arrive as an alarm. It came as a correction. In the navigation vaults of the Axiom Spire, inertial charts adjusted themselves by fractions too small for panic but too precise to ignore. Starlane vectors shifted. Beacon alignments recalculated. Automated systems issued polite confirmations, then resumed operation as if nothing unusual had occurred. Within minutes, analysts noticed. This deviation wasn't requested, murmured a Ruin technician, light forms dimming as it reviewed the data. External gravity harmonics updated without authorization. Another console chimed. Then another. Across the spire, Council fleets began their ceremonial repositioning. Hundreds of warships eased into intimidating formations, hulls gleaming, weapons dormant but primed. The display was meant for humanity, an unspoken reminder of scale and consequence. The first fleet commander frowned. Navigation, confirm anchor lock, he ordered. A pause followed. Anchor confirmed, the navigation officer replied slowly. However, reference points have shifted. Shifted how? By consensus, the officer said. All of them. On the upper dais, High Arbiter HFY observed incoming updates with growing irritation. Explain, he demanded. A data clerk bowed slightly. Our long-range lattice reports localized stellar adjustments near Sol 3's periphery. Minimal movement. Non-hostile velocity. Stars do not move themselves, HFY snapped. No, Arbiter, the clerk agreed. They do not. In holding, Elena Ward sat alone, hands resting on her knees, gaze unfocused. The chamber provided silence as a courtesy, not a kindness. Her private channel pulsed once. Continuity network, phase 2 stable. External interference with intolerance. Elena allowed herself a breath. She had not lied. Earth was not mobilizing. Across soul space, no fleets launched. No weapons charged. No broadcasts challenged the Council's authority. Civilian traffic flowed normally. Satellites continued routine operations. Power grids behaved exactly as expected. That was the unsettling part. Back at the Spire, Council Science Division convened an emergency quorum. Holographic models filled the room, overlapping, recursive, constantly updating. These structures aren't weapons, said Dr. Vethka, mandibles twitching in frustration. They're control frameworks. Control of what? Demanded a Threxian officer. Of thresholds, Vethka replied. Energy flow. Mass distribution. Signal priority. Another analyst interjected. They're embedded everywhere. Not concentrated. Not centralized. XYR Cal arrived mid-briefing, his presence cutting the room to attention. Explain in terms that justify interruption. Vethka swallowed. Earth's systems appear to be integrated into pre-existing galactic infrastructure. Old infrastructure. The Arbiter stiffened. Define old. Pre-compact, Vethka said. Some components predate this council. Silence settled, heavier than before. That is impossible, XYR Cal said. It was, Vethka replied carefully. Until humanity began repairing what everyone else abandoned. On the far edge of the galaxy, a council patrol attempted a routine hyperspace jump. The jump failed. Not catastrophically. Not violently. The ship simply did not go anywhere. Its drive cycled down, reporting successful execution without displacement. Run diagnostics, the captain ordered. Already did, came the reply. Everything's green. Then why are we still here? No one answered. At the Spire, fleet telemetry spiked, not with damage reports, but with confusion. Jump windows refused to align. Formation spacing drifted despite corrective thrusters. Communication latency increased by microseconds, then milliseconds. Someone is throttling priority, a comms officer said. Not blocking. Reordering. XYR Cal turned sharply. Human systems are not authorized for galactic traffic management. They are not managing, Vethka said quietly. They're complying, better than we are. The Arbiter's mandibles clicked in agitation. Summon the human. Elena was escorted back into the chamber. She walked with the same measured pace as before. Your species is interfering with Council operations, XYR Cal accused the moment she arrived. Elena tilted her head slightly. Interference implies intent. And do you deny intent? I deny hostility, she said. The distinction was not lost on the chamber. Our fleets cannot maneuver, XYR Cal said. Our systems defer to unknown protocols. This began after your hearing. Yes, Elena replied. A ripple of anger surged. Then order it to stop. Elena met his gaze. I cannot. Because you will not? XYR Cal demanded. Because it does not accept orders, she said evenly. It accepts conditions. A delegate shouted, you said you built no military. We didn't, Elena answered. We built continuity. XYR Cal leaned forward. You expect this council to believe Earth controls the galaxy without deploying a single weapon? No, Elena said. I expect you to notice we don't need to. That was when the report arrived. A senior observer's voice trembled as it carried across the chamber. Arbiter, trade lanes across 6 sectors have entered passive lock. Energy markets cannot reroute. Nothing is broken, but nothing will override. The chamber erupted into overlapping speech. Elena waited. When silence finally returned, she spoke again. You designed the galaxy to reward stability, she said. We simply learned how it defines that word. XYR stared at her, something unfamiliar flickering behind his eyes. Earth does not mobilize, Elena continued. Because Earth already endured what you fear. Collapse. Isolation. Uncertainty. She paused. You built power to prevent chaos, she finished. We built systems to survive it. Another message pulsed in her ear. Continuity network, phase 3 approaching. Council response time insufficient. Elena straightened. The Council prepared for war. Earth had prepared for silence. The galaxy did not scream. It slowed. Across sectors once defined by constant motion, activity softened into hesitation. Cargo convoys drifted at calculated margins. Energy exchanges rerouted into conservative loops. Communication packets queued patiently, waiting for priorities that never came. Nothing was broken. Everything was constrained. In the Axiom Spire, the council chamber vibrated with suppressed panic. Not fear, fear implied danger. This was worse. This was uncertainty without an enemy to strike. High Arbiter XYR stood rigid at the center dais, surrounded by cascading data projections. Each update confirmed the same truth from a different angle. No hostile signatures, reported a sensor officer. No fleet mobilization, said another. No weapons charging, added a third, voice strained. XYR turned slowly toward Elena Ward. You have immobilized the galaxy, he said. Elena did not flinch. No. The galaxy is functioning exactly as designed. By whom? A delegate demanded. By everyone, she replied. Over thousands of cycles. A murmur spread, anger edged with dawning comprehension. Vethka stepped forward, mandibles tight. Arbiter, the continuity frameworks are not centralized. We cannot isolate them. Then override them, XYR snapped. We tried, Vethka said quietly. They outrank us. The word landed heavily. Outrank, XYR repeated. Yes, Vethka confirmed. They operate on legacy priority, fail-safe classification. Pre-council. Emergency survivability protocols. The Arbiter's posture faltered for the first time. You're saying, he said slowly, that our authority is secondary. In specific conditions, Vethka replied. Conditions that are now met. XYR's eyes locked onto Elena. What conditions? She answered without hesitation. Systemic instability combined with existential risk. The chamber fell into silence. We didn't trigger them, Elena continued. You did. The moment you prepared to remove a civilization from its own continuity. A delegate shouted, this is coercion. Elena turned toward the voice. No. Coercion requires threat. We offered none. Then what do you call this? Another demanded. Proof, she said. That survival doesn't require permission. Reports flooded in. A fleet near the Karsus Rift could not refuel. Energy conduits refused to prioritize military draws over civilian grids. A council enforcement armada found its command hierarchy reordered, logistics outranking weapons, evacuation outranking engagement. Arbiter, an aide whispered urgently, our fleets are being civilized. XYR recoiled. Reverse it. We can't, the aide said. The systems won't allow destabilization. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady but carrying. You taught the galaxy that order must be preserved at all costs, she said. We listened. We built something that protects order by preventing irreversible actions. XYR's mandibles trembled. You designed this to stop us. No, Elena said softly. We designed it to survive you. That distinction shattered something in the room. Why? A senior delegate asked. Not angrily. Not accusingly. Just confused. Elena considered the question. Because extinction doesn't announce itself with fleets, she said. It arrives through decisions that seem reasonable at the time. A new alert chimed, different in tone. Arbiter, Vethka said, voice tight, quorum integrity is failing. Several member systems cannot participate in deliberation. Their governance networks are locked into continuity preservation. How many? XYR asked. Vethka hesitated. Enough. The implication was clear. The council could not vote. XYR stared at the data, then at Elena. You've rendered us irrelevant. Elena shook her head. No. We rendered annihilation inefficient. The arbiter's shoulders sagged, just slightly. If we rescind the judgment, will this end? Elena met his gaze. If you rescind the intent, she said. The systems will stand down naturally. And if we don't? They'll continue doing what they were built to do, Elena replied. Ensure no single decision ends a civilization. A long silence followed. Around the chamber, delegates exchanged looks, some furious, some fearful, some quietly relieved. Power had always been loud before. This was unfamiliar. XYR turned to the assembly. This council was formed to maintain stability. A pause. We cannot maintain what we cannot control. He looked back at Elena. Humanity will withdraw these systems. No, she said gently. Humanity will share them. The word echoed. Share? XYR asked. We didn't build this to rule, Elena said. We built it because someone had to make extinction difficult. She straightened, voice firm now. The galaxy doesn't need another empire, she said. It needs time to think before it destroys itself. Another report arrived. Arbiter, an aide whispered, member worlds are invoking emergency adjournment. They cannot risk escalation. XYR closed his eyes. Then, slowly, he raised his crest. This council, he declared, voice heavy, moves to suspend judgment proceedings indefinitely. A ripple swept the chamber, not triumph, not celebration. Relief. Elena inclined her head. Human representative, XYR said quietly, you have changed the balance of the galaxy. She answered with calm honesty. No. We changed the consequences. As the chamber lights dimmed and delegates disconnected one by one, the great spire felt smaller. Not diminished. Just no longer absolute. In her private channel, one final message appeared. Continuity network, phase 3 complete. Stability achieved. Monitoring ongoing. Elena turned and walked away from the center glyph without ceremony. Behind her, the Galactic Council, ancient, powerful, and suddenly cautious, adjourned in silence. The galaxy would survive. It would just do so on Earth's terms. The adjournment did not restore movement. It restored caution. Across the galaxy, systems resumed function not by command, but by consensus. Trade lanes reopened slowly, as if the stars themselves were considering whether motion was still wise. Energy networks redistributed power with deliberate restraint. Fleets remained where they were, weapons cold, crews uneasy. For the first time in recorded history, no one was in a hurry. In the upper observation ring of the Axiom Spire, High Arbiter XYR stood alone. The chamber that once amplified his authority now felt cavernous, stripped of certainty. Data streamed past him in silent cascades, status confirmations, compliance reports, revised doctrines. None of them gave him back control. You should not still be here, XYR said without turning. Elena Ward stepped into the ring, footsteps soft against the polished surface. Neither should you. He exhaled through his spiracles, a sound halfway between a sigh and a rattle. The council endures because it believes it is necessary. It does, Elena replied. Just not infallible. XYR finally faced her. Your species has rewritten the balance of consequence. Do you understand what that invites? Yes, she said. Scrutiny. Fear. Resentment. And retaliation, he added. Elena nodded. Eventually. Then why risk it, he demanded. Why expose what you built? She met his gaze steadily. Because secrecy only delays the same outcome. We chose timing instead. HFY studied her for a long moment. You did not seek dominance. No, Elena agreed. We sought margin. Below them, the spire's internal transit lanes lit one by one as delegates prepared to depart. None announced triumph. None issued threats. They left quietly, carrying something far heavier than defeat. Awareness. In the science division, Vethka oversaw the final reconciliation reports. The continuity frameworks had not withdrawn, they had relaxed. Priority locks softened. Emergency states downgraded themselves. They're still there, an analyst said nervously. Watching. Vethka flicked a limb dismissively. So are we. That is the point. A junior researcher hesitated. Doctor, if humans can do this, what stops them from deciding who deserves protection? Vethka paused before answering. The same thing that always does. And that is? Responsibility, Vethka said. Or the lack of it. On Earth, no celebrations were held. There were no broadcasts, no speeches, no declarations of victory. Cities continued as they always had, traffic humming, children arguing, power grids stable. To most of humanity, nothing had changed. That, too, was intentional. Deep beneath the surface, in facilities without names, operators reviewed system health in silence. Green indicators dominated every display. Continuity remains adaptive, one engineer reported. No external overrides detected. A supervisor nodded. Keep it boring. Yes, ma'am. In orbit, Earth's satellites adjusted infinitesimally, aligning with the same legacy structures the galaxy had forgotten. They did not command. They synchronized. Back at the spire, Elena prepared to depart. Her clearance had been upgraded, not as a concession, but as a necessity. The Council needed access to her, even if it no longer ruled her. As she approached the transit gate, a voice stopped her. Ambassador. She turned. HFY stood a short distance away, his posture no longer ceremonial. You said extinction arrives through reasonable decisions, he said. I have reviewed our records. You were right. Elena waited. We believed control equaled safety, HFY continued. We believed deterrence prevented collapse. And sometimes it does, Elena said. Until it doesn't. He inclined his head, the gesture stripped of authority but heavy with meaning. What will humanity do now? Elena considered the question carefully. What we always do, she said. Monitor. Adapt. Intervene only when necessary. And who decides what is necessary? HFY asked. Elena met his eyes. The same way it always should have been decided. How? Collectively, she replied. With systems that make destruction harder than patience. HFY looked away, out toward the spire's vast viewing aperture. Stars glimmered beyond, steady and indifferent. The galaxy will not thank you, he said. Elena allowed herself a small, tired smile. We didn't do it for thanks. As she stepped through the gate, the continuity network issued a quiet update, no alert, no urgency. Status, stable. Risk, reduced, not eliminated. Action, observe. Across the galaxy, a subtle shift took root. Civilizations revised doctrines. Fleets rewrote engagement protocols. Councils debated longer before voting. Generals discovered their authority now required justification. No one could point to a single moment when fear changed shape. But everyone felt it. Not fear of humanity. Fear of acting too quickly. Because somewhere in the galaxy's oldest infrastructure, a silent system waited, not to punish, not to conquer, but to pause the universe when it stood too close to the edge. The Galactic Council had once believed silence meant submission. Now it understood the truth. Silence was preparation. And humanity had mastered it.